Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is not actually just Titi. My full name is Tavengwa Tavengwa. I just changed it to Titi because when I came into Ireland, people were finding my name tongue twisting. So Titi would be great. I'm originally from Zimbabwe. I came to Ireland in 2004. I was actually a billionaire at that time, and you'd wonder why a billionaire would want to leave his own home country. I happen to be a billionaire in Zimbabwean currency terms. You can't buy much with that, even a beggar for that matter. So you might know the story of Zimbabwe, and I'm just going to give you briefly my experience of the Zimbabwean journey and what brought me here. So I was born, our independence was in 1980 on the 18th of April. Funny enough, it's this tomorrow. Tomorrow it'll be our independence celebration back home, and it was really a great day. All of a sudden, people had freedom to go to the high street, freedom to actually have bottled beer. You cannot imagine. People before that, they were not allowed to have bottled beer. They had to have traditional beer that was brewed at home and around the place. So that was a massive development to just have bottled drink. So remember that when you're having a bottle, that's serious freedom that people celebrated in Zimbabwe in 1980. I was born in 1978, so when I really started knowing what was happening, I never knew what it was like before 1980. So I grew up enjoying the freedom that my parents never had a chance to enjoy until 1980. Everything was fantastic and we were really enjoying ourselves. We were learning English. We were now allowed to learn it in schools, and schooling was free. And that's what we got from the independence. But things changed very rapidly. Around late 90s, there were discussions around, well, we're enjoying the bottled beer, but we need a piece of land to actually grow. And people were starting to push for more things because they went to the Liberation War against the British at the time because they wanted land that was taken from them, from their ancestors. So although they had enjoyed all the other liberties, now they wanted land, and the government was under pressure to actually give people the land. And the government knew at the time that it didn't make sense to just go and grab all the land. So they were trying to actually risk assess and distribute the land equitably. It didn't go well with the then commercial farmers. They wanted to have a proper business transaction, but the government didn't have the money. So they went on, and the conversations and meetings, there was no results from it. So overnight, across the country, people just took over the farm that was closest to them. So the government didn't have control at that stage. So every farm was taken over by locals to the extent possible. And the farmers who were actually Zimbabweans. So hundreds of years before, they were British, but these people were now Zimbabweans. They just weren't black as I am, but they were Zimbabweans. Unfortunately, people never viewed them as Zimbabweans, and they just went in and started taking over the farms. And within a very short period of time, a lot of people lost their lives, either fighting for their farm or trying to take the farm over. And subsequently, our economy collapsed. So that's how I became a billionaire, by the way, because all of a sudden there was hyperinflation. And overnight, I was working for an accounting firm at that time, a wife with a kid who was 2 years old and doing very well, I'll say middle class at that stage. But overnight, I discovered that it was getting very difficult to even buy basics like bread. You'd go into a shop and the prices would be changing every hour. So whenever you got into like Tesco's, you had to hold on to your product, because if you leave it for a few seconds, when you come back, the price would have gone up. So it was that bad. And one of the key things that we started noticing, people got fed up and they started going out and demonstrating. The Zimbabwean people are normally very quiet and not very violent, very understanding and very diplomatic. But when there was no food on the counters and there was no fuel, the economy had collapsed. People had lost jobs. All hell broke loose and people went into the streets and we started demonstrating peacefully. But culturally, we look at we are actually trained that adults are always right. And this is subconsciously programmed into you as you grow up. So if you talk back to an adult or an elder, or even suggest a better way of doing something, it's viewed as disrespect and requires immediate punishment. So that socio-cultural construct actually explains why the government responded the way they did. Because as people demonstrated, the government looked at it and thought, oh, you're demonstrating against us, that's disrespectful, you're not being patriotic, you're siding with the British. So the riot police were sent in and people were beaten up. Some people disappeared and we don't even know where they are up to now. And you couldn't talk the way I'm talking right now, even to date in the country. So it became quite scary. And the fascinating thing was, for the people who had just celebrated their independence, who were enjoying the freedom, all of a sudden the people who ushered us into that era actually slowly began to oppress us. So slowly power came into contact with the freedom. And the sad thing is that because of that socio-cultural construct, our people did not fight back quick enough because they were respecting authority. And slowly, that voice was silenced. And the government gained their grip, and the iron grip continued until nobody could say anything. In public transport, at home, you need to know which relative is in the house because you don't know who they know, and it might end up getting you behind bars. So that happened, and I realized I didn't want my kids to grow up in a society like that. And it really, I'll say the rubber hit the road when I got home one day and I found my wife, after working hard to prepare dinner for me. I went in and we sat around the table and she had used her imagination with everything that we had in the house. And I got to the table, we sat around and she had popcorn on the table and ketchup. So we put in the ketchup in the popcorn, stirred it, enjoyed our dinner and had water and went to bed. And I was so angry. I was so annoyed. I wanted to shout at the system. I wanted to talk to the people responsible. I wanted to do something. But then I realized I was so afraid. I felt inadequate as a husband, as a father, and I couldn't do anything about it. And the only thing that I could do was take my kids and try and bring them to a society where they can live in that freedom. So, ladies and gentlemen, the freedom we got in 1980 gave me the education that I can speak to you using this language today, and it has given me the job and the career prospects that I have now. But I've also seen the same hand use that freedom to oppress the people that they gave freedom to in the first place. My challenge to you is, around you right now, if you see freedom being taken away, be it subtly, do not be silent, because it happens slowly. It wasn't overnight that we lost all the freedom that we had to express our oppression. So may you be torches for the Irish society for where your freedom is taken away, and also for other people in other parts of the world. Thank you for being here this evening. Cheers.